Okay, and today I'm going to be presenting my group project for my communications course. So my group project, we decided on the street drugs and opioids problem that we are facing right now in the U.S. So our topic is the street drugs and opioids, and in theory, almost everybody knows at least one person that is going to have a problem with one of these two things in their lifetime, and many don't want to, I guess, agree with it or admit that they know, because sometimes it can be embarrassing, and a lot of people don't want to kind of acknowledge the problem that they do have it. So, but others should want to help them get the help they need. So, to the people who are struggling with these problems, as well as to educate on the drugs themselves and ways to stay away from them. The drug problem has been rising throughout the 2000s and peaking primarily in 2017. In the chart below, down here, it is showing the overdose deaths involved in with opioids from 1999 to 2018. Any opioids includes the prescription opioids, methadone, and so on from there. So when you're looking at this chart, it's going to start down here at 1999, and then it will peak up here in 2017, and it kind of fluctuates and goes back down in 2018. However, it's not a huge amount, which really doesn't make myself personally feel like this problem is going away. It's more of just it peaked, and now we are kind of on a steady, like, up and down slope. So next is going to be the possible solutions chart. So on this, I'm going to have the 3 possible solutions we have decided on, which is going to be free treatment programs / clinics, stricter drug laws, and then prevention education for children and teens. So on this chart, it's going to be the feasibility, effectiveness, cost, time, resources available, negative consequences, public acceptance, and then the total for each one. I'm going to be grading these 1 through 3, 1 being low, like last choice, and 3rd being highest, which would be the best choice. So for feasibility for each, the free treatment programs is going to be the best, and strict drug laws is going to be the worst, and then the kind of middle ground is going to be the prevention education. The next is going to be effectiveness, and the free treatment is going to be in the middle, so it's going to be number 2. That's kind of like the teetering one. The number 1 is going to be the strict drug laws. So the effectiveness, I don't think, is going to be very well, just because we have existing drug laws and they have not necessarily done anything to help us thus far. And the 3rd would be prevention and education in the school system. Cost, the treatment programs would be the most expensive. The drug laws would be the least, and the education would be the middle ground. Time, it would take a lot of time to do the free treatment programs, because you have to build and then find the people to therefore run these treatments. Middle ground would be the drug laws. This takes time to pass laws throughout, and then the next would be prevention. The prevention education. Now this would be the least amount of time, just because you are able to start a program relatively easily as long as you have the correct education to pursue them. Resources available, free treatment's going to be middle ground, drug laws is going to be high ground, so it'll be 3, and then prevention education is going to be low. The negative consequences, so kind of like as far as just things that people may not like, is going to be the free treatment programs. Many don't like the payments that they would have to do as far as these come out of taxes. The next would be the stricter drug laws. So I think that a lot of people wouldn't like these because of the existing ones. They all believe they won't work. And then the second is preventative education. Public acceptance, 3 would go to the free treatment, 1 will be the stricter drug laws, and the 2 will be preventative education for children. So the potential solutions. So for the potential solutions, I have them in order from best to worst. The free treatment programs and I'm blanking on a word, so I'm just going to skip that. These would allow people to both seek treatment options as well as have a chance to get counseling and to be close to home while receiving these things, allowing them to have in or outpatient care, as well as have people come and see them, such as family and friends. Second would be preventative education. This would be a program ran within the schools or other programs with children of the appropriate age allowed for this. This would be determined just by the schools as well as parents. And then the stricter drug laws, this is something that could do some good as far as kind of covering the cracks. However, it isn't something that will necessarily put a stop to what needs to happen. So the solutions, stricter drug laws would be the third. The present situation in the United States is pretty grim in the fact of we have $26 billion invested into drug laws, and we still have a major problem of drugs and opioids across the U.S. We as a nation have spent so much money on the possibility of catching these people who are dealing as well as taking these drugs off the street. Financially, this would be on the lower end as far as cost, but cheap isn't always the correct answer in this case as far as to add another law to this. Overall, it's a good theory to have more strict drug laws, but as it stands as a nation, we have spent a lot on drug laws to begin with, and we have little to show for it. 2 is going to be prevention and education for children and teens. It's going to be for the young people, and they are the most likely to drink and are at risk to experience. What am I trying to say? I'm going to say, like, try drugs, essentially. And they are basically the most at risk. This would be a great benefit as a potential to reach a lot of young minds and kind of help them and push them to the point of not wanting to use these drugs, as a lot of young people are curious, but they're not always educated. When it comes to the cost, this would either be a volunteer driven or paid for by the schools. This type of presentation would do well both in schools and functions for young children, just because it would still reach the same age group, and it would be beneficial just as a general kind of educational deal. And then for the number one solution for myself, I chose the free treatment programs and clinics. This solution is my favorite option out of the 3, because it would allow for everybody to seek help. It's not just age-based, it's not just if they're addicted, if they feel like they're getting there, or if they have the inkling of wanting to do drugs. They are all able to experience this treatment either way. So in many cases, successful intervention programs typically involve high levels of interactive, time-intense, and universal approaches. So this is where we would have many different options of treatment methods, and that would be beneficial for all age groups as well as any type of drug that they may be on. A lot of people might think it's not realistic to put the money into something that we don't necessarily know is going to be great. However, I think the money that has been spent thus far has not pushed us to the point of pushed us to the point of not having this problem. So I believe putting the money into this is something that is long-term a good idea because of the amount of treatment facilities that we have now. We don't necessarily have a lot, as well as ones that are open and willing to take people from all walks of life. As well as for the cost, this would be funded by the state as well as individual counties, and it would get paid for, treatment would be individualized as well as payment would be too. So not everybody is going to have the same outcome. However, everybody is going to have the same price, and that would then keep costs down for everybody involved. So the plan, to begin, it would be advertised and pushed out to the public in all ways possible. This means flyers, public speaking, and many times speaking things into the community about addiction makes people very uncomfortable to some extent. They don't like to hear it, they don't like to acknowledge it. It's kind of one of those things that are pushed under the rug. So I think speaking out about it is going to be the first thing about really getting it clicked in people's minds. Many need to just be kind of less standoffish about the conversation about drugs and the problems we face. If there are more treatment facilities, then there is a good possibility of more education in all aspects. To increase the likelihood it is accepted into the community, educate the public about the drug problems and the need of prevention that we need in the community. So in conclusion, overall, there is no denying the fact that we need some type of solution to the drug problem we are facing in the nation, with all of the possible solutions being counted for. Any of them would be a good idea at this point. And in fact, 128 people in the U.S. die of overdoses every day. And this isn't a huge number. However, over time, this number does add up, and it's better just to kind of have a good, powerful solution than have a small and slow-running solution, because these numbers do add up, and we want to prevent as much as we can. So my references are going to be mostly from the COTC online library, as well as a couple Google references, but they are still credible sources, and that is going to be it.